They only open up when the race is completely over. Now, until they put a new tunnel under turn number 1, the only way for those large NASCAR haulers, large RVs, to get in and out of the speedways do those crossover gates. We actually have 4 of them. There's 2 here in the front stretch. There's also 2 in the back stretch. They're called crossover gates because, as you see, we just crossed over the speedway. Now, behind us is the exit of turn number 4. We're going to head down toward the start-finish line in the trioval section of the speedway. Now, the speedway rests on 480 total acres. There's 180 acres here inside the high banks. Now, the speedway didn't take that long to build. Construction first started in November of 1957 and was complete in time for that first running of the Daytona 500, which was done in February of 1959. Now, coming up on the left-hand side of this big grassy area, we call that the football field. And there's a reason for that. Back in 1957 and 59, when Speedway was being constructed, there was a couple of local high schools that had football teams, but didn't have any home stadiums. They had to play their games at away games. So the Speedway said, come on down and play football. So we had our grandstands, let the people sit in the grandstands. We played high school football down here on Saturday afternoons for quite a few years. So it got the name the football field because of that, and it retains its name today. The reason it looks like it does now, it doesn't look very pretty. In March, we have motorcycles here. We truck in about 6,000 tons of dirt. We build the off-road motorcycle course on that football field. After that race, we take that dirt back to our storage facility, grind it off, flatten it out, put new grass seed down there. We do grow from seed. We don't put sod down. We're getting nice and green for the July race. On the right-hand side, this is the trioval section of the speedway. Now, this is banked at 18 degrees.
18 degrees bank.
And 24 feet above that start-finish line, you see there is our flag stand.
Finish line. Yeah, cool.
You guys are looking good enough bunch. I'll tell you what, if you want to take a walk up on that banking, you're certainly welcome to do that. Exit to the right-hand side, folks, please. Exit to the right. Now, please be very careful if you're going up on that banking. Do not run. If you have sandals or flip-flops on, be extra special cautious out there. Because it is not too bad going up. Look at that. 18 degrees. Where are those sandals?
Is this the highest angle then?
No.
You wouldn't be able to climb up the highest?
No, you wouldn't. Highest angle, no.
Hey, Jane.
It's hard to stay balanced. You want me to take a picture for you? Look at that. That's a box.
Good grip.
Yep. Very, very cool. Can you see things?
Did you want to stay this side?
I don't mind. Either way. I got bothered.
And send it in to you've been framed.
Alrighty, folks, might get you back on the tram.
Did you see that down?
Be careful coming down, okay? Push it for flip-flops.
Oh, cool. What do you say? Yeah, you can what? You let it try.
Little bit.
You're going to see it.
I don't know what's going on there, but there's a silver.
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
Yay!
You can't appreciate how steep that is when they're talking about it. I took that.
Alrighty, folks.
The other one? Really?
Once again, please remain seated while the tram's in motion. We're going to continue on with the tour. Now, I know you see a lot of things over the left-hand side. I'll tell you about those things on the left-hand side a little later on, because we're going to go back over that area. I won't go off telling you about them right now. But we will get to see that areas over there. I will tell you, that little glass building there that says NASCAR on Split State, NASCAR on Speed, NASCAR on Fox, that's our old Gatorade Victory Lane. That was opened in 1998 by the race winner that year. Race winner in 1998 was Lane Dillahern Sr. lot of people don't know this, but Dale Earnhardt Sr. is the winningest driver at Daytona. He won more races here than any other race car driver. 34 races to be exact. Unfortunately, he only won the Daytona 500 one time. But he's won all other major series here, but including the Gatorade duels, the Twin 125s, the shootouts. He won in the Nationwide Series, the former Busch Series, ARCA Series, and the old IROC, International Racing Champions. Little section of grandstands here, they're behind pit road. They're called the pit road patios. That's where the drivers, owners, and sponsors get set seats during events. They set up little hospitality village back there. Big party zone is what it turns out to be. Now, as you can see, they don't get much view of the speedway, so they mount televisions in those little boxes you see there. Now, there is limited seating over there to the general public. So if you want to watch the race from pit road, go to the ticket office. Be specific, ask for pit road patio seats. They'll take care of you in there. You see some cones set up out here. We have the Sports Car Club of America coming in over the weekend. So the sports cars will be racing here this weekend. They're going to be using our infield road course along with the super speedway. So this directs them which way to go for the infield road course. Now over on the left-hand side is that entrance to the infield road course. See where those tires are. That's actually a 3.56-mile course. They had almost the entire 2.5 miles of the speedway. Then everything you see in there in blue guardrail, that's part of that infield road course. They enter right here on the left-hand side. And they exit just on the other side of this little white wall you see here. Jim Nelson coming up the left-hand side. That brings them back out into NASCAR turn number 1 where we're headed now. You can also reconfigure that in different sizes. You can have a 3.56 mile being the biggest. That to a 2.95 being the smallest. Speed bumps. Grandstands on the right-hand side. You see we have put all new seats down in the bottom level down there. About 10 rows of new seats. That was bench seating for a long time, but put all those new seats in there. You see they're much wider than the older seats. Much more comfortable than the older seats also. They have armrests and cup holders. We actually lost about 8,000 seats because of those new seats. We have 8,000 less people that sit in the grandstands now. Also, right now we're going over a new tunnel, believe it or not. There's a tunnel underneath this, tunnel under turn number 1. Put that in 2004. Now we're going to go through that tunnel later on in the tour. So I'll let you know about that just a little bit later. Right now we're in turn number 1. Now this is 31 degrees of banking versus that 18 you saw down there. It's 2,600 feet from the entrance to turn 1 to the exit of turn 2. Turns 3 and 4 down to the opposite end of the speedway are identical. Now if you were to walk a straight line between the center of this turn, walk down to turns 1 and 2, that straight line distance is 1 mile. 1 lap around the speedway for the sprint cup cars is 2.5 miles. I know you guys want to go up there, right? I can't do it. I can't do it with this tram anyway, we put it that way. Now in order for a normal passenger car, and I say a normal passenger car, to stay up there safely, that car has to be going to say 75 to 95 miles an hour. Anything less than that, and Mother Nature and gravity, you know how that works. I'm going to bring it back down here to the apron. Also looking to the right hand side, see that solid double yellow line at the bottom of that bank? Look to the top of the track, see that white dash line. Now the distance between those two lines is only about 30 feet. You have the Sprint Cup driver who come here on race day 3 wide at over 190 miles an hour. Now sometimes they come through here 4 wide. Sometimes that works. Most of the time it doesn't. At least one of those drivers ends up into that outside retaining wall. Lucky for those drivers, in 2004 we installed a safer barrier speedway. Now SAFER stands for Steel and Foam Energy Reduction. That's SAFER. That is the new SAFER barrier you see out there on the right hand side. I'll tell you a little bit about that barrier. Now the inside portion of that barrier is steel tubing. In fact, end to end, almost 9 miles worth of that tubing around the speedway. Behind that steel tubing is a section of styrofoam blocks. Not just regular styrofoam, the same kind as these little packaging peanuts and coffee cups. Now the outside portion of that wall, that's concrete. But should a driver get into that wall, that steel tubing is going to bend and flex a little bit. Those foam blocks are going to give a little bit. That's going to greatly dissipate the energy and force of that impact, making it safer for all the drivers. Safer barriers, safer for drivers. Okay. Right now we're headed toward the super stretch. The super stretch here at the speedway is 3,000 feet long. And although it looks relatively flat, especially on television, it is banked at 3 degrees. Now that 3 degrees of banking really doesn't help the performance of the race car that much, but it does help in drying and drainage of the track, should we get a rain shower during one of our events. I'm going to take you guys above the yellow line so you can say you were on the racing service where those NASCAR cars do race. We're now going down the super stretch. You can tell your folks at home that you went down the super stretch at 18 miles an hour. I don't want to blow her up or nothing, so I had to bring her back down. But not too many people say they've even been back here, so you got to go down at 18 miles an hour. Well, now we go below the yellow line. And coming up on the left-hand side over there, on the other side of that wall, you see a large body of water. Now, that large body of water is Lake Lloyd. Lake Lloyd is a man-made lake, and it's from there that they dug the 1 million cubic yards of dirt that they used to build the bank here at Speedway. When Mr. Bill Grant Sr., also known as Big Bill, was looking for a place to put his new Speedway, he needed a place that had two things. One, a place with the size to put a 2.5-mile track, and two, a place that had the right quantity and quality of dirt necessary to build the high banks. He found it here in this one location, and his dream became a reality for that first running of the Daytona 500, which was on February 22nd of 1959. Now, originally, Lake Lloyd was 44 acres in size, but in 2004, we did a major reconstruction project here in the infield. We moved Lake Lloyd in by about 1/3. Lake Lloyd is now 29 acres. In its place, we put over 250 premium RV sites. Now, those sites are just on the other side of the lake. We'll get a look at those later on in the tour. Now, if you happen to have a reservation for one of those RV sites for Speed Weeks or the Coke Zero 400 race weekend, you can put your RV in there and be connected to cable TV, electric, and water. Now, Lake Lloyd is a stock lake and has been used for master's turbines. It's also been used for water skiing demonstration and powerboat races. Since we filled it in, we don't do that too much anymore. Now we basically just use Lake Lloyd for irrigation and fire protection. Now, that little section of roadway on the left-hand side, that is actually used by the sports cars and the Rolex cars. That section is called the that's called the chicane by some. Some people call it the bus stop. And still others just refer to it as the in and out. Looking across the street of this large building with a glass roof. That's the main terminal of the Daytona Beach International Airport. During race day, many fans go into the airport and simply walk across the street to their seats on the super stretch, or to take one of our many free trams. We do provide transportation around the Speedway. They'll take that tram to get close to their seats on the front stretch. After the race, they walk back to the airport and fly home, eliminating all the parking from traffic congestion to get ready for events. Also coming up on the right-hand side, you'll see a large Sunoco sign. As I go past that sign, you look between the two halves of that sign, you'll see a pair of chairs up there. Now, those chairs are for the official NASCAR spotters. Now, it's the NASCAR spotters down to monitor the track during the race and to look for any accidents, incidents, or debris. Should they see something, they'll notify NASCAR Race Control, who will then turn on the yellow caution lights. We have a series of those caution lights around the Speedway. And those caution lights come on and indicate to the driver if there's a problem on the track. They should slow down if all that behind the pace car. We have a spotter station at the entrance and exit of each turn. Now we're in turns 3 and 4, folks. As I said before, it's the exact same banking, 31 degrees, as it is in turn 1 and 2. Now, as I mentioned before, a normal passenger car has to do at least 75 to 95 miles an hour. Now, those pickup cars, they'll be able to stay up there to save 55 miles an hour. Now, 55 miles an hour is very important here at Daytona, because that's the maximum speed on pit road. Anything more than that, the driver's going to get penalized. So during the parade lap, before the race, and under caution, that pace car will do 55 miles an hour. That way the drivers can judge their engine RPMs for that speed. They know what gear to be in, how fast the engine has to be going, so they don't go speeding down pit road. Those cars don't have speedometers. Over here on the left-hand side, just inside that chain link fence, that's actually a roadway. It's a road course, never built cars. We do race built cars here at Speedway. They're here once a year. Between Christmas and New Year's is Kart Week. We run the carts on the infield, and we also use the carts on the Super Speedway. If you've never seen a go-kart do 150 miles an hour plus, come back and see us between Christmas and New Year's when the go-karts are here. You can watch them race around the Speedway. There's another tunnel coming up over here on the left-hand side. This is the Turn 4 tunnel. This is the original tunnels from 1959. And those tunnels are kind of small. That's why these trams don't fit through there. So that's why we're going around the outside today. If anyone has watched the NASCAR racing, you've ever seen Fox Television Network, you ever seen Digger? Little gopher cam? Oh, that's a digger hole right there, right inside that little plate. That metal plate is where they put those cameras. But they take them out when they're not in use, obviously. But we have about 7 of those located around the speedway. That just happens to be the one you'll see as they come out of turn 4.
That's how they take pictures of the cars.
And here's the tunnel I was telling you about. Now this tunnel is about 25 feet beneath us. It's a little over 250 feet long. And it connects Bill France Boulevard on the outside through the infield. And as I said, they're kind of small, so we can't fit through there anymore.